Hey, what's going on, Inspirators? It's your boy Tony D, TonyDoyleInspires.com, back once again with another great video. Appreciate you guys for popping on the Inspirate channel again today. We are kind of in the middle of a six-part session on love languages and what they mean. We are actually on the second love language today. So if you are familiar with that, if you've been following me along, you'll know where we're at. If not, let me just provide a quick little intro. So this concept of love languages comes from Dr. Gary Chapman from a book he wrote back in 1995 called The 5 Love Languages, and it has since been accepted as pretty much the gospel when it comes to relationships. Okay. And it has since spawned a lot of spin-offs and a lot of great conversation. I was rereading this book and thought it was definitely something worth sharing with you guys. If you are familiar with it, if you have read the book, please feel free to comment down below what your love language is, or what your best takeaway is from the book itself. And if not, I do suggest that you grab that. The original is called The 5 Love Languages. And it's super great. So love languages basically describe the way that we feel loved and appreciated. Okay, and depending on our individual personality types, we probably feel love different than how our partners do. You know, and one thing I like to stress is this is any kind of relationship. So it could be a loving partnership, marriage, etc. It could also be a business partnership. It could be friends and family, you know. This applies to all of those things, right? So understanding and decoding the different ways that we show love and how the other person in the relationship shows love helps take the guesswork out of expectations and needs, communication styles, and where we need to put our focus, right? So, like I said, according to Dr. Chapman, there's 5 love languages, including words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving of gifts, quality time, and physical touch. So those are the 5 love languages that we're here to discuss. So we're in the middle of breaking those down, one video for each, and we are on number 2, which are acts of service. Acts of service. So we're going to get into that today. Once again, I do appreciate you tuning in. If this is something that is interesting to you, this or any of the things on our great platform here at Inspirate, please subscribe. Hit that little bell symbol. It'll give you notification every day when we put out new videos. And we are dedicated to providing inspiration every single day for you guys. So do that. As always, if you like it, please give it a thumbs up. It actually works with the algorithm on YouTube to let other like-minded folks see the video who may not normally know to subscribe, and it'll actually show up as a suggested video for them. And then finally, if you really like it, or if you know, say you want to send this to your partner and let them know, or anyone else, or you just want to post to your timeline, feel free to do that. I certainly encourage that. In your social media platforms, etc. All right, that being said, let's get into it. We are on love language number 2, acts of service. So your partner might have this love language if their motto is actions speak louder than words, right? So we talked about words of affirmation being really important. So now we're going to move on to those who the actions, you know, especially service. So it is super high, and that may be yours, and it may be your partner's. And like I said, in business, you know, there's always someone who is super giving, and so that could be you. It could be one of your business partners or managers in the business, something like that. So this love language expresses itself by doing things that you know the other person would like, right? So cooking a meal, doing the laundry, maybe stopping and picking up the prescription, you know, small acts of service and kindness, right? They require a little bit of thought, a little bit of time, and a little bit of effort. All these things should be done with positivity and your partner's ultimate happiness in mind. Okay, so this isn't something that someone would do and then hold you over the coals later on, right? That if there's some kind of expectation, it's not an act of service, right? All right, let me get here. So, so that's considered an expression of love through service. Okay, and actually the definition of service is love in action. So, people who value this highly would definitely be appreciative of this, and that could be you. Actions out of obligation, like I said, with or with like a negative tone, that's something else. Okay, that is not an act of service, and it's not expressing love language. All right, so ask yourself this: does the person we're talking about in your relationship, so whether it's your partner or whoever, do they say things like actions speak louder than words, or you can talk the talk, but can you walk the walk? If so, they're giving you a little key, okay? Chances are one of their primary love languages is acts of service, okay? So what we'd like to do is kind of explain a little bit more about acts of service as a love language, and then take a look at some examples and, that you might be able to find easy to implement, okay? So if you haven't discovered what your love language is yet, like I said, we will be including some, we're calling it a love quiz, but really it's just some phrases and questions to ask yourself that might help direct you to which one of these 5 is yours. If one of your primary love languages is acts of service, you're going to express your adoration by the things you do, okay? So actions that go above beyond to help the other person feel loved or appreciated, okay? They can be small things, like I said, maybe mowing the lawn, or in the wintertime, shoveling the snow, doing the dishes. I know my partner loves when she wakes up to no dishes. Getting up in the middle of the night and taking care of the baby or the pet, right? While you let the other person sleep. Maybe that other person is you, and you appreciate that really a lot. Anything like that that can help your partner feel appreciated or make their life a little bit easier. Like I said, just takes a little bit of thought and caring. So now there's an interesting caveat to acts of service love language, okay? And one that may not seem fair, but it's something that definitely should be addressed, right? So the most powerful acts of service are done spontaneously or without asking. So that where the act supersedes the expectation. All right? So and why would that be? Because that is really defining your character, right? So that's a display that this act of service, this service thing is a character trait of you, and that's what's going to be attractive to the other person, right? So, all right, so I've got a little story here. We're going to call these people John and Jane. So let's just talk through their love languages real quick. Just as an example, okay? So let's say it's Jane's job to do the dishes, okay? It's her job to do it. She normally has that as an assigned task for herself, okay? She's been doing it for years, okay? Unfortunately, John, whose primary love language is acts of service, has grown accustomed to Jane doing the dishes and basically expects it of her, okay? Not that he requires it of her, but he knows that that's something she enjoys doing. She always gets it accomplished. She's never had an issue with that, okay? So he's grown accustomed to Jane doing the dishes and basically expects it of her. Does this make that act any less meaningful? Okay? So for Jane to do the dishes, unfortunately, although it shouldn't, make it less meaningful. When there's an expectation involved, it can actually cloud the act. Okay? So when John says they need Jane to do more acts to feel love, you don't understand why Jane may feel hurt. She could be like, I've been doing the dishes for years. What are you talking about? You've never even had to touch a dish, right? But on John's side, he sees that as a basic tenet of, of their relationship. Okay, it's just what Jane does. So she obviously has the right to feel hurt. John also, is looking at things from a different perspective, and he doesn't see that as something that she's doing out of service as much as just out of rote memory, right? She was doing the dishes as an act of service, but that can easily be overlooked, right? Due to the frequency that she does it and the expectation that John now puts on there. So think of it like that. Now, if John were to do the dishes for Jane, on the other hand, because John never does them, if Jane were to get up to do the dishes and John already had them done and instead had a little flower and a cute little note laying there, that would, if that's one of Jane's really high love languages, then she would be super appreciative of that, right? Because there was no expectation of that, and it's, it would come completely out of the blue. So that's the interesting caveat. It really depends on the expectations, and it depends, as all these love languages do, on how the other person values that love language, right? So if you or your partner has acts of service as your primary love language, it's important to have an open conversation about those things, okay? In this case, it can be a two-way street, right? So sticking with that, the example we were just talking about, if Jane wants to show her love, she may need to think of acts that go beyond the expectation, right? Things that are more spontaneous or unique. On the other hand, like I said, if John wants to show his appreciation, that Jane does on a daily basis to help make their life easier, even if she's been doing it for years, as long as she is doing it with the right intent, as a service, as an act of love and kindness and compassion, so that John doesn't have to do it because John hates it and she knows that. Sometimes it just takes a conversation to refocus those things, okay? Like most of the love languages, it doesn't always need to be a grand gesture. If John notices that Jane's car is a little dirty, he can get up an hour earlier and go get it washed, right? Or wash it himself. Seeing Jane's face light up when she finds a newly washed car can be extra rewarding for both, depending on who has the love language of service, right, as super high on their list. So I want you guys to try to think and see if service is one of the top 5 of your love languages. Are you around number 1 or number 2? Service is super high on mine. It's definitely top 3 for me. In fact, it's probably number 1 in most relationships. As with all these love languages, I believe they shift a little bit depending on who you're talking about and the appropriateness, but in general, service is always an attractant to me. So the people I like to work with in business are very service oriented, right? Servant leadership is like my thing, like aspirational, leadership. The same thing with friends. Like if I look at my closest circle of friends, the people that I'm really attracted to and I like to spend time with are those serving, actually going out and helping their community, helping their other friends and those things. So I would invite you to rate that as well. And like I said, we will give you some other questions here at the final video, and you can kind of go back and rate yourself. I think it's really important, and it's helpful in communication for sure. So, so service as primary love language. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and finish this up. Shouldn't be on here too much longer. But what are some examples of acts of service? Okay, like I said, they do not have to be grand gestures. So, preparing breakfast, lunch, or dinner, okay, for someone unexpectedly. Like I said, cleaning up your partner's car. Might be, scraping the ice off the windows if it's winter. Taking the kids and leaving the partner to relax with no responsibilities for a few hours. Simple act of taking out the trash if that's not something you normally do, right? Going to the P.O. box and picking up the mail. Cleaning up the bathroom, all those kind of things. So, hopefully that's definitely helpful. I've got one quick little game. Each of these videos I like to provide some kind of game that you can do with a partner. So we're calling this one Jacks, Queens, and Kings of Service. Okay? And all you need is a piece of paper, a pen, and some regular standard playing cards. So basically on your paper, you're going to write down 3 acts of service. Okay? You're going to do that and your partner's going to do it. Okay? So this is going to be done over the weekend. So say you're doing this, if you're going to have a Friday night date night, you can play the game, and then over the next 3 days, these acts will be completed. Basically, you're going to write down 3 acts of service. The other person is going to write down 3 acts of service. And you're going to assign each of those, or you guys are going to assign one for Jacks, one for Queens, and one for Kings. Okay? Then we're going to shuffle up the playing cards and just put them in the middle. And I have a little list of tasks for face cards. Well, for your cards 1 through 10, you're going to come up with some basic little things, okay? Little things like what we've been talking about. So, but maybe specifically more towards this, since it's date night. So this may be a service like give your partner a 30-second shoulder massage. You get your partner a glass of water or refill their current glass. I've just got some things down here. Tell your partner 5 things they did today that you really appreciate. Stare in your partner's eyes for 15 seconds. A 30-second hug. Okay? Clean up one thing in the room that you guys are currently in. Things like that. So come up with something 1 through 10 for those. And then the special ones, right, for Jack, Queens, and Kings. And then all you're going to do is you're going to take turns, and you're going to shuffle the cards, and you're going to take turns drawing cards, and you're going to do the 1 through 10. You're going to do those as you draw them out, okay, as part of the game. You're going to do those immediately. So if you pick one out and it says you got a 6, and 6 was assigned as find your partner a piece of gum or candy that they really love. You're going to go do that right now, or a piece of fruit, something like that, right? If you get Jacks, Queens, and Kings, you're going to save those, okay? And then what you're going to do, and you can decide how long you want to play this, but I would suggest doing about 10 rounds each. Like I said, the Jack, Queens, and Kings, you have all weekend to complete those tasks, and then the 1 through 10, you're going to do those immediately on your date night. So hopefully that's a fun little setup for a game, and it's a way to get a lot of service in quickly. And maybe if it's hard for you to think of things spontaneously, this will be a good way to kind of get the ball rolling. So hopefully that makes sense, and it's something fun you guys can do. Let me know how that works out if you play this game. If you try it, let me know like some little tweaks if you want to tweak it. This is just something I came up with on the spur of the moment. I think it'll be really fun. I'd like to try it with my partner, actually. And even in a business setting, I could see this really working well if you tailored, the acts of service. So, once again, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and hit that little bell symbol, the notification, and we'll let you know every day when we upload new videos. Give us a like, and if you really found this valuable and you know somebody who needs this, please send it out directly. I appreciate that, or post on any of your social media channels. So, all right, once again, I do thank you for joining into NSPR8 channel. And as always, remember, if you're not inspired, you're just not looking around enough. We have things to appreciate all around us. We are so abundant. So until tomorrow, sending you peace, love, and inspiration.